call this April 24th, 2025 Board of Education meeting to order. George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Bissell?
Here.
Ms. Cobain?
Here.
Mr. Micko?
Here.
Ms. Stachek, who's on her way, and Mrs. Hausum.
Here. Almost all present. We could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda, we do have need to enter into executive session for,
To consider the employment of a public employee.
do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Bissell, second by Mrs. Kilbane. George, can you take the roll?
Yep. Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mrs. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Micko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum.
Yes. Motion carries. We will return into regular session at approximately 7 p.m. All right, we will return to public session at 7:07 p.m. Next on our agenda is our strategic priorities. Our district has developed and is currently engaged in a 3-year strategic plan which reflects the values, beliefs, and hopes of our students, staff, parents, and community. There are 4 strategic priorities to the plan: transforming teaching and learning, aligning staff and resources, cultivating culture and climate, and leveraging funding and facilities. Our strategic priorities give actionable focus to our district's purpose and mission and guide the work of our strategic plan. Next, I will turn it over to Dr. Ryba for recognitions.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Mrs. Cobain and Ms. Stovchek for some recognitions this month from Sarar.
Good evening. We're going to start with our awards from Sarar. Emily is going to come up and do the honors.
Thank you. Today I want to recognize 3 people from Sarar Elementary as our award winners for the Extra Mile Award. The first one is Abdallah Al-Kabani, who I believe is not here tonight, but he is a remarkable 5th grade student at Sarar. Each day he enters the building and he greets everyone that he encounters when he comes in. He exhibits a profound sense of wonder and curiosity as he enjoys asking lots of people questions. And when he asks those questions, he has an incredible memory to remember really small details about those people, which is really incredible. What stands out most about Abdallah is that he's caring and compassionate. He's a constant friend to all of his peers. He likes to check in with them, hold the door for them, and then also cheer them on whenever they do anything well. And then for these admirable qualities, Abdallah has been nominated as the Extra Mile Award student recipient at Sarar. His contagious joy and enthusiasm encourages everyone in our environment, and he makes Sarar a better place. So we want to thank Abdallah for being such an exceptional friend and role model to everyone. The next person I'd like to honor is Kim Seitz. Kim is being honored as our staff member recipient for the Extra Mile Award because of her outstanding dedication and commitment to our school community. She consistently goes above and beyond her daily responsibilities to provide invaluable support to our students and staff. In addition to her responsibilities as a recess monitor, Kim often receives an either early morning phone call or very last minute phone call to see if she can come in and sub for one of our aides who may be out. I quickly learned that even though with a little hesitation, Kim is always willing to step out of her comfort zone and give all she has to meet the needs of our school. For instance, when several younger students this year required a little extra support, she not only embraced that challenge to help support them, but her support resulted in positively impacting not only those students, but the staff around them. Her behind-the-scenes contributions are vital to the smooth operations of our school day. So Kim, thank you for being such an integral part of Sarar and for your unwavering commitment to our students and staff. And thank you for all you do, because we couldn't do it without you. Yes. And I'd also like to recognize Katie Coleman as our Sarar Teacher recipient of the Extra Mile Award. At Sarar, we're blessed to have Katie as our reading specialist. In her position, she works with small groups of students in grades kindergarten through 5th grade by providing additional support and reinforcing skills for their reading. She also plans and organizes our Literacy on the Lawn, our Veterans Day Assembly, and has played a large role in our One School, One Book initiative that we just kicked off. What sets Katie apart is her passion and commitment to improving students' academics, coupled with building meaningful relationships with all those she comes in contact with. I also admire her because of her unwavering positivity. I don't think I've ever heard her say anything negative, ever. She approaches every challenge with a calm demeanor and a smile. When we faced the need to expand her already very full caseload this year, midway through the year, Katie just came in and reworked her schedule with a smile on her face, and she ensured that every student's needs were met. Katie is the most positive person that I know, and it's easy to see why the students love working with her. Katie, thank you for your exceptional dedication and for your vital part that you play at Sarar.
Mr. Faust, one more.
I just have to say that this teacher was the happiest person we ever gave an award to. So I just had to say that. She's wonderful. You all are.
All right, well, thank you guys for being here tonight. Abdullah, Kim, Katie, you're the reasons that we are a premier district. We couldn't do it without you and all the other staff members, so thank you. One more round of applause for our... All right, so next we will move on to public comment. Now is a great time if you want to go enjoy the beautiful weather outside. Please feel free.
Do we have more?
Do we?
That's it for the extra mile this month, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
We do. That's going to be at the Polaris, yeah.
Okay. So, thanks
We
for
won't
being
pass
here.
judgment for you leaving. Please
Good
do.
night.
All right. Next on the agenda is public comment. I don't have any slips.
No, we don't need slips.
I know, it's been a couple meetings now. All right. Next, we have approval of minutes. Motion to approve the minutes of the April 10th, 2025 work session. All audio recordings will be a permanent part of the minutes and are available upon request through the treasurer's office. Video recordings shall be maintained based on the availability of the selected digital online platform. And next, hold on one second.
So, did you want to change the order for?
We can,
or
if
something?
that works for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
So I would like to bring up Superintendent of Polaris Career Center, Diane Zander, who's going to share. She's new superintendent, so come on up, Diane. Thrilled to continue our work together in a new role for Diane. But she's going to give kind of a little highlight as to what's going on at Polaris and then celebrate some of the outstanding accomplishments that we've had in the satellite programs here.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ryba. I appreciate the invitation tonight. I'm thrilled to be here. As you know, some of you know, Polaris Career Center serves 6 different districts in our region, and Strongsville is one of them. For some upcoming highlights, we have Camp Discovery coming up. That's going to be held June 9th through the 11th. We still have some open spots. So if you have a rising 6th, 7th, or 8th grader that's interested in participating in camp that week, please check out our website. The registration details are available there. Also, some upcoming highlights. We have a new STNA Earn and Learn program. That is going to be for our seniors that do not attend Polaris. It's a program, it's a non-traditional program available for seniors at our associate school high schools. And those seniors can participate in an Earn and Learn program with a partnership with O'Neill Healthcare. And what that entails is seniors can sign up. They're going to earn a wage while they're learning to be an STNA, which is a state teacher nursing assistant program. They're going to earn elective credit hour along with a 12-point industry credential, which clears them for a pathway to graduation. So that's a new program opening up in the fall of 2025, so we're super excited to kick that off. And then lastly, in the fall of 2026, we are unveiling our new era is engineering technology, robotics, and automation program. It will eventually house up to 150 students that are interested in going into engineering, robotics, and automation. So super excited about our new programming. And at this time, can I introduce the robotics
Please, yeah.
team? So in March, this was our 5th Polaris Palooza. This kind of started years ago. We used to take the middle schoolers down to Columbus for Skills USA. And after talking to our teachers and our associate school partners, we decided to develop our own robotics competition. And what the teams at Strongsville and our other school districts, they form a robotics team, which we also have programming at the middle school. And we currently have 3 full-time teachers at the middle school, and I'm going to introduce them. This is Mrs. Gasparo. We have Mrs. Weinken and Mr. Dowd. You want to come on in? Bring your kids along. So Strongsville did a phenomenal job of winning the competition. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Gasparo because she can give you all of the details.
Oh, wow, so cute.
Good evening. So this evening, we are proud to recognize these amazing 8th graders. They're students from Strongsville Middle School who showcased their engineering and robotics talents at the annual Polaris Palooza competition. They applied what they learned in the Polaris Gateway courses that we teach at Strongsville Middle School with design and modeling, automation and robotics, medical detectives, which are obviously, yes, like I said, they take during their 7th and 8th grade year to excel during this event. They dedicated many hours after school and even during their lunchtime to design, develop, and build to prepare for the 2 robotic competitions, Mad Grab and Dragster, where they were competing against students at the other Polaris Career Center partner middle schools, North Olmsted, Olmsted Falls, Brooklyn, Brea Mid Park, and Fairview. The Mad Grab competition, which is these 2 robots, that competition challenges students to design a robot that can scoop up as many balls as possible and deliver them into buckets within a set time, but while they're competing head-to-head against another robot in the same arena. And Strongsville Middle School teams placed first and second in the Mad Grab against 17 other teams. So congratulations. Yes. So congratulations to Hannah Schneiderman, Abby Seitz, whose mom also received an award today. So I think this might be the first time that a mother and a daughter have gotten 2 different awards at the Strongsville School Board meeting. And Brooke sent, along with their robot, Frederick Bartholomew the Third. So you want to show them Bartholomew, Frederick the Third? Yay! Aw. Wow. And then Lucas Waite, along with his robot Biggie, he placed second in the Mad Grab competition, and his design was the most unique and actually can do the worm. I love it. Love it. So as you can see, we have a lot of fun, and one funny story with this group was all the other players Career Center middle schools had a snow day, except for Strongsville. So instead of
Tell me more.
and it was a Tuesday.
That was so subtle.
It was a Tuesday. We'll tell you exactly what day it was. No, it was a Tuesday, and we took the proper mindset and we recorded and said that we are now one day stronger and better than the other schools since they all had off. So we appreciate that extra day. And then the second robotic challenge at Polaris Palooza is a dragster competition, and the students designed a race car type vehicle robot to see how far it can travel on a runway following specific criteria and constraints. They can only use VEX parts, up to 4 wheels, and a 3-second wait time. And so they have to go through all these different mechanisms to see which one would be the best for torque and speed. So congratulations to the following SMS students who earned 3rd place in the dragster out of 26 teams. And they are Kastub Devrakanda, Vihan Yanamandra, and Wyatt Zak, along with the dragster USS Devastator. Right? So just speaking on behalf of the 3 Polaris Career Center teachers at Strongsville Middle School, it's been an honor to be your teacher the last 2 years. I could get emotional with this group. This team is so awesome. And we appreciate your dedication, and we really look forward to seeing what your future holds, because your future is definitely bright. So I thank you for coming out here also to show them everything. Thank you.
Who is Frederick Bartholomew III's speaker? Who speaks for him? I want to know if his second and original are as decorated as the third.
What made you guys come up with that name?
Was there a first and second version?
No, I'm a very random person, so it kind of just popped.
Okay.
It kind of just popped up in my head for no reason.
I think it makes intrigue and mystery to it, because you're like, oh man, this is like a racehorse that has like a family bloodline of like really good winnings here.
And you can't say it's the third.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they brought gifts that the students designed and 3D printed with our 3D printers and using Onshape software. So they brought a little gift for us.
Oh, that's so nice.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Now, before you leave and you take your the third, I forgot the whole name,
The third out.
with you. Oh, thank you.
Are those lights? It looks terrifying with those red lights. Look at them right at us.
Thank you so much.
That's cool.
Thank you. That's so nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I wanted to share, we were talking earlier today about the progress we've made as a school district and the things that have changed over the years. And it wasn't that long ago, probably about 8 years ago, we had no Polaris satellite programs in our district. And for a variety of reasons, but we all sat down together and figured it out. And I think, not that it's a competition, but I think of all the 6 districts, we may have the most satellite students involved in Polaris or towards the top.
I think that you're close to the top,
Yeah,
yes.
so, we have middle school programs, we have multiple programs at the high school, and our enrollment at Polaris Career Center has significantly grown over the years. So it gives all of us great joy to see something that was a roadblock years ago, we were able to get past it, and now we have these outstanding young people. And Megan and Cody and Alex, you gave us some of the best that are around to help lead the program in Strongsville. And we've got these opportunities for kids that we didn't have just a few years ago. So we appreciate not only the work that our wonderful teachers do, but for Polaris in bringing these great opportunities to our kids and our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Raba. And Strongsville Middle School is our largest PLTW Polaris
Yeah.
program. So we appreciate your partnership. And I'd like to recognize Laura Wolf-Hausum, and Richard Micko, who has served on our board in the past, and currently our board president is Mrs. Michelle Bissell. So I just appreciate the partnership, and I appreciate working with Cameron. So great things are in our future, and we're looking forward to growing that partnership.
Well, thanks for being here with us tonight.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
It's
it.
our pleasure.
Mr. Faust, you want to get a pic before everybody leaves? Are you going to go outside? Okay, cool. Yeah, students, if you can, and Alex and Cody and Megan, if you want to, well, come up here first so we can say congratulations to you.
Yeah, I know. I'd kind of like to do that, you know? Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Congratulations. I love what you guys do. Congratulations. 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 Good job. Good job. Good job, Alex. It's so cute.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Of course, the robot is carrying something right now.
Oh, yeah. They have to earn their keep.
design is really good.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Those are great.
Of course it won.
That's awesome. Till somebody steps
Well,
up.
that really cleared out the place.
Yeah. That was
I
as
wondered
exciting
why
as my financial report.
All right. Sorry, George.
Maybe that robot could pick up the financial report with it. and get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or just run it around
skip over it.
a few times around the room.
Poor George. No one ever stays for his financial report.
I don't know why.
Well, that was exciting.
It was cute.
Yes, it was. I still hear them. All right, we'll turn it over to you, George.
Thank you, Mrs. Hausum. I have a few items for your consideration tonight. The first being the monthly financial report for the month ending March 31st. I'm going to go over the supplemental report. Through March, revenues are about $4.1 million less than the previous year. That's primarily due to the levy coming off, and also the spring collection was about $1 million less than anticipated. 4.9 represents, the 4.1 represents about 4.9% less compared to last year, while expenditures are about $3.9 million higher than last year, which is about 6.26%. And the cash balance is about $2.8 million less, or 4% less than the previous year through March. How we're trending against the forecast, revenue is trending about $716,000 less, or 0.82%. Again, we'll get into it, but it's due to the spring collections for property taxes, and expenditures is about $757,000 less than the forecast, about 0.8%. So overall, the net trend is about $41,000. So continue to track and update every month. For cash balance at the end of June, we started the year with $51.3 million. We're anticipating to be about $47.1, which is about a $4.2 million less deficit spend as we're beginning to spend down. Just looking at March individually for revenues. For March, revenues compared to last March are about $6.7 million higher. If you recall from last month, February, revenues were down. It was more or less collection of property taxes on the advances in the settlement. And then overall, the second section, for year-to-date, as mentioned, revenues are about $4.1 million less. About $1 million of it is due to the tax collections coming in less than forecasted and anticipated, really, and less than the previous year. And then collections, also about another $3.6 million less due to the renewal levy coming off the books for the first half. State revenue is up about $325,000 due to the state funding formula, and then other revenue is up due to increases in payment in lieu of, which represents about $339,000. Net interest revenue is down about $107,000, so the net is about $207,000 increase in those categories. Looking at March expenditures compared to last March, we're about $200,000 more. The second section, looking at the year-to-date, March year-to-date through this year compared to last year, we're about $3.9 million higher, which is about 6.3%. Salary and benefits are increased due to additional positions and the negotiated agreements increases, and then purchase services is higher due to the mobile leases. Special education placements and utilities are higher compared to last year as well. And then other expenditures are less due to a debt payment that expired around $330,000. Last year was the final payment, and then also county auditor fees were less due to due to the collections being less. How we're trending against the forecast. $716,000 less. Local taxes and state reimbursements, the homestead and rollback, overall, those differences are about $1 million less. And then expenditures are about $750,000 less than forecasted. And the main categories there are salary and benefits due to open positions and just some vacancies and turnover in staff that kind of build up, and some budget estimates. And then purchase services are slightly higher due to utility. The utilities are slightly higher than forecasted, and also we had additional special ed placements from the time of the forecast. And then any questions on that before I go to the other financial report? And then in the main financial report that's linked to the agenda, we added a section for the 070 monitoring. So we started the year with, and the 070 fund with $25.6 million in cash. We had estimated interest revenue to be about $500,000. It's currently at $636,000. And in the appropriation exhibit in a few items, I have it increased to $856,000 based on estimates from meter. So there'll be an increase there. And then also the projects that we have approved to date, the Chapman Elementary roof replacement that was approved at the last board meeting, about $1.3 million. Kinsler HVAC, about $1.8 million. The Soror HVAC, about $859,000. And the Whitney roof, about $1.2 million. So overall, we've approved about $5.1 million worth of expenditures, leaving an ending balance of, once those are all used up, about about $21 million. And then add in the additional interest revenue, we're about $21.3 million so far of the 25. So even starting the year last year, we started with $25 million. Last year we gained $581,000 in interest, and this year gaining $856 million. So essentially that's a whole other project that we were able to add based on interest income with the dollars. So. Yeah.
Do we have any more big ones that we've already approved that aren't on this? Or any other big ones coming down the pike? that we know of? Not yet?
I'll defer to Mr. Breckner if he has any.
It's just
in mind.
the windows, right?
I feel like that's the only other thing we've talked about.
And that'll
Yeah.
come out of here as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we delayed that for this year, so this is all the HVAC and roof projects are on this list, right?
So you don't foresee us, you don't foresee us having to tap into this anymore,
For HVAC at this point, no.
just for
Unless
any
something
bigger,
happens that I'm not aware of.
any bigger type projects?
Is there any more roofs slated besides the Whitney and Chapman?
No, those are all done. Next year, I'll be recommending several.
Okay, so there's another one.
The roof.
Oh, so there's going to be.
So there is
And then
another.
how far have we delayed the windows? How far down the road?
We just said not for this year. We wanted to get through the roofing and the
Okay.
HVAC project. So Steve's been gathering the estimates, and so that's something that we'll bring to you next year to decide what you want to do.
I'm
We
sorry,
also have,
Marasky's on there as well. Some of the roof at Marasky. Part of
Okay.
it is still good, but the other, some of that's a good, some is lower section.
And that'll be next year as well.
Correct. That's-
we have a, just don't know it offhand, we have a document linked to the strategic plan that we can share, that we have the projects for the next 5 years linked in the funding source that those will come out of. So we can
That
share
would be
that
helpful,
after the meeting,
Thank you.
so you have it as a reference.
I would suggest we have that ready for Monday's
Yes.
Yeah.
meeting, because I think that all of those projects dovetail and are affected by the bond project.
Right.
Thank you, Steve.
Any other questions on that? All right, moving on to the next item, G.2, be it resolved on the recommendation of the treasurer that the following grants be approved for fiscal year '25. We have 2 SEF grants. One is for Strongsville High School National Conference for Teachers in Mathematics for $2,916. And then another one is for Strongsville High School Life Skills Transition Classroom for $4,700 for replacement equipment and furniture in the model unit.
There's another one on here. Did we,
I'm sorry, sure?
the life skills, did you,
Yeah, that was the last one.
oh, okay. I didn't hear you say that. Okay.
Item G.3, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the amended appropriations be approved, as they're listed in the exhibit. We had adjustments for the SEF grant, which totaled, the 2 grants totaled $7,616. We received additional E-rate funds that they're budgeted for in the 019 fund as well for $17,280. In the 070 fund, we had the Chapman and Whitney roof project that were approved at the last meeting to appropriate for those for the $2.4 million. And then we had several federal grant reallocation awards that were done by the state of Ohio, just reallocating to the school districts. Item G.4, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor be approved. If you recall, this is an annual resolution. Starts at the organizational meeting with the tax budget, where we show the need for the funds, and then the county sends, based on that, they send a tax rate resolution for a voted millage, which will go into effect for the next calendar year. If you've been following the state budget, where they're talking about capping 30% carryover, this is the process they would use to change taxes, or tax rates for the upcoming year to lower the tax rates to collect less in order to cap the certain cash carryover. But that's still in process. So this is with our current tax rates. If you recall back in November when the reevaluation went in place, we had a special meeting where we approved a new tax rate resolution for this calendar year to lower the bond millage. Since we did it at that time, there's no change in the bond rate millage for 2026. So it's essentially the same resolution we approved, but for tax year, for the tax year 2025, collection year 2026.
We do need a motion.
No, this is a separate vote.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stavcek, second by Mrs. Kilbane. Thank you for explaining to us what we're voting for.
Sorry.
It's all right.
It was the motion by Ms. Stavcek?
Yep.
And Mrs. Kilbane was the second? All right. Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Mrs. Kilbane?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
And Mrs. Bissell?
Yes. Motion carries.
And then the last item I have, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that per board policy 6423, that the annual credit card limits per cardholder and account be approved as listed in the exhibit. This was originally passed at the organizational meeting. We had some changes since then. The first one is U.S. Bank increased our monthly credit limit from 40,000 to 60,000. So it's updating the policy to match that. If you add up all the cards, they exceed that amount. It's just the overall aggregate of all the cards not to exceed 60,000. And then the other change was adding, we had a Home Depot in-store card, and then Lowe's changed the way that they do their store credit, and it was moved to their credit card, so to adding their parameters for the Lowe's in-store card. So those are the changes.
Great. Any questions for George?
And that concludes my report.
Thanks, George. Turn it back over to you, Dr. Rada.
Thank you, Ms. Hausum. We already heard the wonderful Polaris update, so I have two items for your consideration. The first would be the recommendation of our administrative handbook from August 1st, 2025 to July 31st, 2028. And the second item is the approval or recommendation of the leadership handbook for that same time period. So just like our other union contracts we have non-union employees that are qualified as administrative or leadership, and they have 3-year handbooks or contracts as well. And so those are the two that obviously the board has seen prior to this meeting and will be a part of the consent calendar. Any questions there? All right, with that, I'll turn it over to Steve with the business service report.
Good evening, everyone. A couple items for your consideration tonight. The first one being part of the consent calendar. This is to allow us to access the basically state term pricing for rock salt when the snow starts to fall, whether that's in 2 weeks or hopefully a lot longer than that, but it is Ohio. So that's what that resolution is about, is allowing us to access the special pricing available to the Department of Transportation and other public entities. Any questions on that? The next item that does require, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education accepts the proposal from Vasco Asphalt Company for the sealing and repairs of the parking lots for the elementary schools, Kinsner, Muraski, Whitney, Sarar, and Chapman, not to exceed the amount of $68,733. And the exhibit is attached.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stavcek, second by Mrs. Kilbane. I just wanted to point out, that we're using two different pay lines for this, for lack of a better word. This is coming out of our permanent improvement fund, and when we talked about it, this is something that we would have done regardless, correct? Like with the roofs, we're using the 070 fund because if we're working on our bond, we would not be replacing roofs, correct?
Correct. So Steve has a long time ago developed routine maintenance, a preventative maintenance plan that goes through the 003 or permanent improvement fund, and this has always been something that's on it, and he's got it mapped out of this year's elementary, then the year after maybe, I don't know, middle school or high school, one of them, and then, so we're on a 3-year rotation.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you. Any other questions?
The other thing I would add, Laura, to that too is, if you look at a lot of those projects in the 070 fund, it exceeds the amount that comes in from the permanent improvement fund, so otherwise we wouldn't have been able to afford to do those projects without either taking out a bond
Right.
or finding an alternative method, which was either another type of loan or whatnot.
Right. And while we'd rather be using those funds for new buildings, we got to make sure that our buildings we have now are safe.
I think the only other thing I would comment on is this is prudent maintenance. You don't have to go far to find a city council meeting that they're constantly dealing with the challenges of chuck holes and the salt and our winter weather here in northeast Ohio. We've all had, sometimes it feels like no matter what we do, we're losing. But this is an example of us taking care of our property and making sure to maintain it. It's not our property, it's the taxpayers' property. But we're stewards of that, and this is an example of us making sure to maintain that. And when all of our parents and visitors are on those lots and they're not in chuck holes and cracks and things like that, we'll make sure to thank the taxpayer for it.
Any other questions, comments? George, can you take the roll?
Sure. Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Ms. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And the last item is a gift that the district received from the volunteer group of the Strongsville branch of the Cuyahoga County Public Library. They donated books to Kinsner Elementary School in the amount or valued at $40. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Next, Nicole will come up with the curriculum report for the month. She's been busy.
Good evening. I have many items for your consideration this evening. Items 1 through 3 involve affiliation with Capital University and a placement of a student teacher through them, and the placement of 6 student teachers next year with Baldwin Wallace. Item 4 is a partnership with Edmentum Courseware. We're on the 3rd year of our agreement. We use them for our credit recovery and our online programming, so this is the 3rd year renewing that. Item 5 is for approval of secondary summer school, which will take place June 2nd through the 26th this year. And then my favorites, items 6 through 11 are our textbook adoptions for the high school. I have to say, it's a lot of work to do a textbook adoption, and I would be remiss if I didn't say it's due to a work on many people's parts, including Aaron Green, Joanna O'Brien, and Sean Collins in our department, our department chairs at the high school, Kelly Riblett, Laurel Mahar, and Steve Boros, and their entire departments, and our community reviewers, including Mrs. Bissell and Mr. Binkley, who volunteered to review books for us. So many hands went into the selection of these books. So items 6 through 11 for your approval are books for the English language, English department, the science department, and the social studies department. And those adoptions encompass almost nearly all of the courses in those departments for the next 6 years. And then lastly, item 12 is Success Maker, which is an online adaptive math practice program for grades 3 through 6. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Next, with the student service report, Andy will come up and share some updates for the month.
Good evening, members of the board. I have 2 items for you to consider this evening. The first is tuition-free admission for a foreign exchange student for next school year, 25 to 26, tuition-free admission. And the second one is an agreement with Insight Behavioral Consulting for a student with disabilities for the rest of this school year in the amount prorated at $18,746 and an additional $5,000 should the student need to go to extend the school year.
Any questions for Andy?
Thanks.
All right. Next, Ryan will come up with the human resource report.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ryba. Good evening. I have the following items in human resources for your consideration. Item 1, resignation, certificated. Item 2, resignation, non-certificated. Item 3, retirement, certificated. Item 4, retirements, non-certificated. Item 5, appointments, certificated. Item 6, appointments, non-certificated. Item 7, appointments, certificated substitutes. Item 8, appointments, non-certificated substitutes. Item 9, appointments, certificated athletic supplemental contracts. Item 10, appointments, non-certificated athletic supplemental contracts. Item 11, appointment, non-certificated auditorium stage crew. Item 12, change in status, non-certificated. Item 13, contract recommendations, non-certificated. Item 14, job share, certificated. Item 15, stipend, summer professional development. Item 16, stipend, summer professional development. Item 17, leaves of absence, leadership. Item 18, leaves of absence, certificated. Item 19, leaves of absence, non-certificated. Item 20, unpaid leaves, certificated. Item 21, volunteers, chaperones. Item 22 is a correction, and item 23 is a correction. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Next, with the technology report, bring up Dave.
Good evening. I have one item tonight. It's be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the agreement between Southeast Security and the Strongsville City Schools be approved to upgrade the core of the network for the entire district and the upgrade network switches at Strongsville High School as detailed in the attached quote. The the cost of the agreement will not exceed $110,960.54.
David, if you could just share real quick, because these are different funds that pay for this project.
So this is from our E-rate funds. So typically, our E-rate funds are funds that we get reimbursed from installing equipment that provides internet services to our students. So these systems that are at our core, which is at our middle school, have not been updated since the building was built. So it's time to upgrade those. So we're doing that. And then we have a set of switches at the high school that are nearing its, let's say, its best of use by date. And so we're going to upgrade those as well while we have the funds available.
Thank you. Any questions for Dave?
Jim and I already spoke and geeked out about Jim Hamelick, the network manager, and we geeked out about all the exciting things about network switches. So I can go in more detail if you'd like.
Hearing no other requests for that
Moving
detail.
on. Moving on.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Iba. Rich, you can fill us all in at the end as we're walking to our cars. All right, next on the agenda, report on Polaris Career Center. Turn it over to Mrs. Bissell.
Well, we had such a wonderful report already. Thank you to Diane Zander for being here tonight to share a little bit about what's going on, and to our robotics teams. We have had much success in those competitions. So again, congratulations to them. I'll just share one more thing. Last week at our board meeting, we had a recognition dinner where we invited Polaris's outstanding seniors. There were 3 of them, and one of them was Strongsville's own Jack Moore in the heating, ventilating, air conditioning, and refrigeration program. So congratulations again to Jack. He, along with his family, had a nice dinner at Polaris and received his award. So he has a great plan for what's next, and we wish him much success. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, report on legislation.
Thank you, Mrs. Hausum. The report on legislation from Columbus is going to be a repetitive theme for the next couple of months. Our biennium budget is currently being discussed and legislated on by the state Senate. Wanted to compliment Cameron and George for sending out what I thought was an excellent letter explaining the issues at hand and how they potentially will affect Strongsville schools and in general the Strongsville taxpayer. I want to start by just highlighting that our senator is Senator Tom Patton. I'm going to repeat his phone number, 614-466-8056. I think the two issues that I want to highlight tonight, one is the increase to the budget for education, and the current version of this budget would increase approximately 1% the contribution from the state to Strongsville City Schools. However, previously it was planned to be a 3.7% increase. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on different people's way of looking at it and their agendas. At the end of the day, the board needs to make plans for our students and for our district, and the only way to make those plans is based on what we hope is going to happen. And so when you expect a 3.7% increase and it turns into a 1% increase, the person can say, hey, you're getting an increase. But at the same time, if you were expecting 3.7% increase in your salary, increase in your Social Security payment, increase in anything, and it's only 1%, the person receiving that money looks at it as a cut. And so at the end of the day, I think it's reasonable that it's a cut for us. In addition to that, attempting to respond to the property tax increase, the property tax value increase, and the effect on property tax payers, there is currently a vehicle in the budget that would force school districts to reduce the property tax levy money that they receive. Again, there's lots of different rationales for it. It is in my opinion, it is the state's response to, we got to do something. And instead of saying, how do we address those increases? How do we address that in a systemic way? I feel they looked at, hey, there's a big pot of money in the school district's coffers. Let's use a vehicle to give it back. Again, if you're the person listening to it and you're going to pay less taxes, you think it's a good thing. For us, planning the financial stewardship of the district, it is a severe negative. As a city, as a taxpayer, we look to our different government entities for our services. We look to our city for police. We look to our city for fire. And for some reason, I think education is treated differently. Commonly by different, whether it's Columbus, whether it's people you meet on the street. But I think education should be as valuable a service and as important a service for any community as police, fire, recreation, etc. And so to target schools, to me, just seems foolish, disingenuous, and it will have long-term consequences. And I think we're all in this business, and we know it will have long-term consequences, not necessarily for the adults in the room, but certainly for the students that we're charged with educating. And so to use a vehicle in the budget to say that Strongsville has done its job and has been financially prudent and has cash in the bank. So we're going to say to address property value increases, we're going to lower that tax amount. Sounds deceptively attractive, but it is financially imprudent and it will have real consequences. And the real consequences are, it's no different than if you've been saving for your college education, your retirement, anything else that you've been putting away an amount of money every year so that as that cash balance builds up, you can pay for whatever it is that's valuable. So in this instance, this school board went to our taxpayers and said, this is how much money we want you to entrust to us so that we can educate the students in our town. And yes, we have a high cash balance currently, but look at your own expenses, go shopping, do anything. Everything year after year is going to increase. And the board and the administration have always tried to be financially prudent and have always tried to make sure that what we ask of the taxpayer is reasonable over time. This plan in the budget is deceptive because it seems like a good thing. It seems like it addresses issues with property values. It is penny wise, pound foolish. It is raiding the piggy bank, and the taxpayer is the one who's going to end up paying more in a year, in 2 years. So I think I've said enough about that. I do request everyone listening to contact Senator Patton and express that tax policy should be financially prudent. Tax policy should incentivize and prioritize the things that are important to everyone in our city. And that, in my opinion, should be police, fire, safety, and most of all, or equally as all, education. And so I think this will have unintended or maybe intended by some people negative consequences for us. And the last thing I will share with the public is Strongsville sends more money to Columbus than Columbus returns back to it. So if you're just looking at the bottom line, ask yourself why Strongsville should fund Columbus more than it's going to get in return. Why should Strongsville accept 1% increase when we're sending more down, and a 3.7% increase still doesn't mean we're equal? But it is a serious issue. It does require everybody to be active. And so I ask the citizens and the taxpayers to contact Senator Patton and advocate for not what's in the agenda of some particular politician or what have you, but advocate for what's best for Strongsville and Strongsville's taxpayer. And that concludes my report. Can I talk about network switches now?
Not yet. Next, board liaison reports, City Council. Mr. Micco.
City Council did meet on Monday. It was a quick and efficient meeting. The one thing I will share is Mr. Clark discussed the Economic Development Committee, discussed a lot of the exciting things that are coming down the pike for our business parks, and mentioned there's a gentleman who does a lot of commercial real estate in our area, Terry Coyne, and mentioned how excited Terry is about the things that are coming down the pike, so to speak, for Strongsville, and that it will translate into additional business in our business parks, which translates into job opportunities, which translates into income for the city. So all good things, and we thank Mr. Clark for his advocacy on the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you. Strongsville Education Foundation.
Well, they were rounding off the year and approved many grants, which I think we went through here and approved them, for a total of, I think they received 17 grants and they approved 14 with a total of $13,982. These guys do a great job. I'm going to push again. Go to their website, Strongsville Education Foundation. They kind of like revamped their website, so you might want to take a look. They're really looking for people that want to sponsor the casino night, which is November 22nd this year. And so I just encourage everybody out there, really take a look at it. If you're in a position where you can help, they sure would appreciate it. And they do a lot for our kids, so I want to thank them for that. And that concludes that one.
Thank you. PTA Council?
and then PTA, and then PTA council.
I was there, but only for part of it. So I'll let you.
They're rounding off their year also, and they end on May 1st with their console installation and awards luncheon, which will be held at Gino's More Than Just Italian Restaurant at 11:30. They will be honoring the T in PTA and Helping Hands Awards recipients at that. And I think that was it. They donated $100 to the after prom committee. The last thing that they had, their last meeting, Ryan Kilbane spoke on human resources, and Dr. Ryba talked to them about the busing situation. Other than that, their last meeting is May 1st, and congratulations to them. They do a great job, too, in supporting our kids and everything. So thank you to the PTA.
Thank you, Mrs. Cobain. Southwest General Hospital, we finally got to attend a meeting. And I just want to start by saying it was very interesting to hear the history of how the hospital came to be, how the cities all came together and decided that they needed to form a hospital. And I'm going to let Rich give the details since he was our delegate and he got to vote that night.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to echo what Laura said. It was very interesting to learn. Southwest General is very unique in hospital structures that there is a public finance component to it. And as Laura mentioned, the history of it was Southwest communities getting together and saying having a hospital nearby, local, is a good public thing, and we're going to fund it. And every community chooses to fund it. Every dollar is important. It was interesting to see that the hospital receives approximately $900,000 a year from the taxes. And that's not Strongsville, that's all of the communities of Southwest General. Compared to the $425 some odd million of their total budget, it seems like a very small amount, but every dollar is important. But it does have a vehicle for the communities to be involved and to have direction. And if Southwest General were ever sold, the communities would have to approve that sale because of the way the Southwest General is organized, because of its bylaws, because it has that public financing component. So that part of it was very interesting. Ultimately, now that the school district is part of the convention of delegates, I think of it as a great vehicle for us to be able to be informed about its impact. Everything is connected. Polaris is a big part of Southwest General. Southwest General is a big part of the health component and the health careers at Polaris. So it's a great partnership. I think we learned a lot. One of the things we learned is besides this annual meeting, I don't anticipate any other meetings unless somebody comes forward and tries to buy the hospital. But it was very interesting, and we did vote on 3 community members who are now part of the trustees that make the decisions and advise the hospital. So all in all, it was interesting from the history of it, and I'm sure our students could find it valuable to know how local government actually works. Mm-hmm. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, board committee reports. Finance Committee.
We did not meet since our last report, and we do not currently have a meeting scheduled, so we'll keep you up to date when that happens.
Thank you. Policy Committee.
Policy, however, did meet yesterday, and I have to say that I think for the first time in the 6 years that I've been on the Policy Committee, we had a community member join us. Yeah. So thank you to Wendy for coming and sticking out the whole meeting and contributing. It was really nice to have someone involved and interested in the policy work that we're doing. And those policies, everyone received copies of them tonight, so those will come to the board here next month, and we'll go from there. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Facilities Committee, we have a meeting May 20th, 6:30 PM here in the admin building. Business Advisory Committee?
Next meeting to be announced.
All right, sounds good. Next on the agenda is consent calendar, adoption of consent calendar. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of consent calendar. At this point of the agenda means that all items appearing in this agenda denoted as type -action consent, which items constitute the consent calendar, are adopted by one single motion unless a member of the board or superintendent requests that such items be removed from the consent calendar and voted upon separately. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Do we have any requests for items to be removed? Hearing none, George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Mrs. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Motion carries. All right. Dr. Ryba, back to you.
Thank you. As George is getting the slides up, I'm going to ask Dan to come up to the podium. I forgot to tell Dan. Come on up, Dan. I just want you to share the story you share with me. So as Dan's coming up, we were talking earlier today, the 60 Seconds this week is going to highlight a project-based learning experience at the middle school that we featured at the State of Our Schools when we met with the chamber. And at that event, I made a little kind of joke that Finn is his name, right? So Finn was one of our students, and I'll have Dan tell the story, but I said, Finn, here's Bill Evans, the CEO of Southwest. You guys need to meet and work together. So Dan, tell him what's been happening.
Yeah, so we interviewed Finn for the 60 Seconds episode this week, and Finn relayed that he's had several meetings so far with Bill Evans at Southwest. And his prototype for the basics of it is that there's a community member that had a stroke recently, and she can't open her hand up. And so the students were charged with designing a prototype item that she can put in her hand to keep her hand from scabbing over and to provide some air inside her hand because she really can't open it up. And so Finn at the chamber luncheon had shown this device, and now that prototype is at their facility and they're testing it with stroke victims there and just seeing how it works. So his was just one of the many prototypes the students developed, and they were all really excited about it, and it's another just community connection and another just fabulous story about that.
So how cool is that? I mean, that's awesome. I mean, it makes my heart happy. What's that? Was he 7th grade? Oh, 8th grade, okay. 8th grade. So just a great experience, and, like you said, great partnership with Southwest that they engage in this and brought Finn over and are trying out the devices that they highlighted. So that was just an awesome story that I wanted Dan to share with the board. And some other great stories we have around the district in terms of our timely information. So at Moraski Elementary School, Mrs. Timko is a 2nd grade teacher there. And if you've ever met Mrs. Timko, she is just a ball of energy and joy and kindness. So it's fitting that what she's done this year is created hallway portfolios. So kids throughout the year make writing samples, they set goals. And so some of the prompts that they put is, I think these are great prompts for kids or adults. A time when I was brave was when. I make it a point to be a good friend by. A time I showered someone with kindness was. And so the kids write these reflections. They're working on their handwriting as well as developing their writing skills and thoughts and content, as well as setting goals. And then they get to put them in the hallway in their hallway portfolios and see how they've grown over the school year. So I think that's just an awesome idea for kids to see firsthand where they were in August and where they're at in April and May, as well as some very thought-provoking prompts that help to build skills outside of the content just to be great human beings. So celebrate Ms. Timko for that great idea. So Mrs. Scott is one of our 6th grade, I clicked it on mine. George, I apologize. I clicked it on mine. I don't have the clicker. So Mrs. Scott's 6th grade honors ELA class, so they've been studying 2 novels around a topic of World War II. So one of them is the book Bomb, and one of them is Sashiko. And so both of the books do with the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So not only are they learning about the historical context of these decisions, but they had a prompt which was, as President of the United States, did Truman make the right decision to drop the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? So not only did they read these books, they did some additional research, they looked at different counterpoints, and then they entered into a class debate, dividing up into supporters of the decision and opponents. They researched information, obviously, as we talked about, watched videos, looked at articles, and in sixth grade we have a double block of ELA, which is 80 minutes, so they used the entire time to take the information that they learned, put it into practice to create a meaningful argument, debate their positions, and it was so well received that they wish they had a little more time to dig into the topic. So again, as we've talked about in building the skills of our Model Mustang to be collaborative, expand a global perspective, or be empowered, these are activities and experiences. When we talk about, and you said, Laura, at the beginning, to create premier classroom environments, this is what it looks like in practice. So we, again, commend Joanne for putting this together. And finally, going to the high school, we talked a little bit, and I think we've had a 60 seconds on building thinking classrooms. We've had a couple things on that, but Mrs. Cermak and Mrs. Harrison, they do a phenomenal job. They're co-teachers in the math department at the high school, and they've been implementing the building thinking classrooms, which gets kids out of their seat from doing math as here's an example, you try it, now you try it on your own, to working together, to solving problems. They're randomly put together, they work together. And the problems can be inquiry-based, or it can use prior knowledge, or it can be a new concept. And as I think we've shared this idea, we've had elementary teachers go to the high school, see high school modeling this, and it's coming into our elementary schools now as well as a way to approach different areas of content. So that's already been a great strategy, but these two ladies take it to the next level, so they created a Capture the Flag challenge. So with this, to create some engaging additional excitement for the kids, so they've been put into teams solving math problems and challenges to continue to work on their skills in the classes that they're in. So again, building thinking classroom is a great strategy, but taking it to another level by adding that game and fun aspect to it is very creative. So just a few highlights of the outstanding work being done around the district. And as Nicole shared today, we've got, and the board approved through the consent agenda, summer learning opportunities for grades 8 to 11. That went out in my update earlier this week if you want the information to register for credit advancement or credit recovery. And how exciting is this? We got a donation from our community theater partner to help initiate a middle school theater program. And so they've been working all year, and their first production is coming up this weekend. So tomorrow night at 7 p.m. and April 26th at 2 p.m. Everything you always wanted to know about middle school, but we're too busy being stuffed in a locker to ask. So, so it should be a great show. I've heard nothing but good things. Mr. Jenkins emailed me on another topic and shared that he was able to see their rehearsals, and he couldn't stop smiling seeing 30-plus middle school students engaged in the theater. And it's only going to help build his program as well as create an awesome opportunity for our kids at the middle school. So tickets are $5. Please check it out and see a great show that our students are putting on this weekend. And that concludes my timely information.
Great, thank you. Next, Board of Education Other. We do have a discussion topic going back to our future levy and bond issue. I think tonight we wanted to discuss and hopefully come to consensus on whether next May we put two resolutions on the ballot, one being the bond, the second being a new levy, or do we want to combine them as one resolution, bond and levy together? So looking for somebody to start the discussion. Thoughts, questions? Have it already come to consensus, or have you already come to a decision what you'd like to do?
Cameron, will you do us a favor? One of the things I thought would be really interesting to see is what have other communities locally done recently? Because there are a number of districts that ended up in the same position we are. What are they doing and what has been their success? And it was actually really interesting and not at all what I expected. So can you give us just a quick overview of what you learned?
Sure, yeah, so we sent out a survey to all the Cuyahoga County superintendents as well as the Stark, Medina, Lorraine that are on our listserv. So as you take a look at it, it's a little all over the place. So it's about 50-50 split between doing, hey, separate votes versus a combined vote, and just kind of looking at it. Of the combined ones, as I'm looking at the stuff, we had one that passed, one that only lost by 5 votes, another combined one that passed, one combined was 60% in favor. So pretty good success rate for combining. For those that went separate, we've got a failure. One passed the bond, failed the operating levy. Let's see here, failed them both when they were separate, and both failed. So if you take a look at the straw poll there, the combination has a better success rate than the separate from the 8 districts that have done this in recent history.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of not surprised at that. I feel like when you have 2 separate things and you're looking at a ballot and you're reading it all, I think people get confused too.
And overwhelmed.
Huh.
Right, overwhelmed by a lot of different things, thinking that it's separate
Yeah.
without realizing that it all goes to the same entity.
Yeah.
And like you said, Michelle, that this isn't unique to us. There are many districts going through this, so much so that when we were at Capitol Conference in November, Shaker was actually featured as a presentation that I actually went and sat in on. I can't remember if I even got a seat there because it was standing room only, where they talked about their strategies and how they were able to be successful with passing a bond and levy at the same time. So again, this isn't unique to just us.
So they did theirs at the same time?
They were
And
combined, yeah.
successful?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and I think that, to what Sharon was saying, George offered us this sample ballot, and I know what this means, and I still didn't know what this means, right? Like, it's a lot of words in a small space, and if it's separate, I think there is an issue of what's what and why, and it's like 10 lines for a bond.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
So I do think that's a consideration as well.
And also, God willing, we pass our bond issue, we've got to have the operating budget to do the work inside the buildings.
I just want to share something that Richard shared with me, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. This was in the fall. Because I really thought we just needed to do the bond. That was my original go-to after we failed in the fall. And I thought you said something so poignant in that if they pass one thing, they're going to be very wary of then turning around 6 months later and passing a second thing. Because there is sometimes trouble making the distinction between what is the bond versus what is the levy, and why do you just want more money? And I can't, I'm stuck on that. I think that's true. I think if we just did the bond, we would run into trouble passing an operating levy. We couldn't even do it before a bond, let alone if we passed one. So that's the nugget that has stuck with me since November about, pushing me towards wanting to do them as a combined issue.
So I think we should consider it as a combined issue. I think if we take a look at what is stepping back from, strategy and wanting to win, wanting to fail, or not wanting to fail and things like that, if we just look at our responsibility and go back to what we discussed earlier, our responsibility is educating the students in our community and doing that as best as we can with the resources we have, and then being honest with the community members on what that entails. And I think we owe the community clear communication about what the needs are, and not over fatiguing them. We delayed going back on the ballot because we felt that three times everyone's fatigued with the question. And so I think if we're going to be honest with the voter, we should be able to explain the entire message. I think we have two issues. We have our building issues, we have our infrastructure issues, we have everything that Steve brings to us at each meeting, and we have an obligation to the community to take care of those resources, to take care of those buildings. But we also have, for lack of a better way to put it, a paycheck issue. We have an obligation to have the required resources to operate the district. I'm afraid that if we have two votes, it's going to communicate, well, the community can decide which one's important and say yay or nay. They're both important. We know how to take nays. We've taken a number of nays lately, but in the many years I've been on the board, this is a constant conversation we've had. And I think we should consider, and I would advocate for combining both of them so that we have one clear and consistent conversation about what is required for the premier district we want for our students. And to go back to that idea of what are essentials, what is bedrock important for us as a community. Police, obviously, safety, fire, security, obviously, education of the next generation, I would hope is an obvious thing that we as a community should commit to. And when we say commit to, that means pay tax dollars. We've already talked about the discussion in the history of Southwest General. That was a communities coming together saying it's important that we have a hospital not on the other side of Cleveland when minutes and seconds count. It's so important that we're going to commit public funds. And I think this is the similar conversation that we need to have with the community, that a school district in Strongsville is so important that we're going to commit these funds. And I don't, if I was the person having to make that decision, I want the whole responsibility, and I want it in one question, and I want it consistent. I don't want, okay, in November we'll talk about the buildings, and oh, by the way, now we have to talk about how do we pay the people that work there. I want to be able to say, this is my commitment, I understand my commitment, and I'm going to say yes or no. So that's kind of how I feel about it, and I think it's good for us to, as a board, to have this conversation, and we're having it well ahead of the vote so that we can get feedback from the public. But, speaking practically, which one, any of us here, which one would we say is more important? Is it better to have the operating money but the roofs are leaking? Is it better to have the roofs are taken care of, they're great, but we are actually looking at cutting classes because we can't afford to have the classes? It's a silly choice. It's a Solomon's choice. Do you want the top half of the baby or the bottom half of the baby? You want the whole baby. And so I think having it all at once is the right way to go.
Did not see it going on.
That's the first time he's used that one.
I struggle with new analogies.
And just to reiterate something that I think we've all kind of hit on is that we've been thinking about this since November. This isn't something that we've just decided today. We've been talking and individually together, collaborating. This isn't something that we take lightly. I just want the community to know that we've put a lot of time and effort into coming to these decisions.
Just one more thing I wanted to point out too is I think this is implied, but just so we say it out loud, a combined issue would combine the renewal levy that we failed, so that a bond, and then the renewal that would have been on the ballot in November of 2026. So we would put everything in one bucket. Is that?
Your timeline is off.
Yeah, so it depends on what you want to do with the renewal levy.
Okay.
The future renewal levy, because the first opportunity we could go for that is, What's that? Yeah, so I'm just thinking of the year. So this would be May of 2026. The first opportunity that we would have for the other renewal levy is November of 2026. So when we think about the dollar amount that we want to do for this operating levy, do we want to add that dollar value to this and just let the other renewal levy expire, or just keep them separate, having any new money that we needed here, and then knowing that we still have that renewal in the fall? But whatever we can't put the renewal language in here. It would have to be, I'm going to say replacement, but that's a whole different meaning levy, but essentially putting in something that would replace that, but it would be outside of language. It'd be more or less, we're not going to move forward with the renewal.
We would just let it expire.
Let it expire,
Okay.
depending on what we want to do with,
Right.
how we want to, what approach do we want to take in that operating aspect.
But we would tell the community that, right?
Correct.
And I'll say it publicly now, I would advocate for combined, I am advocating, not I would, I am advocating for a combined levy for the bond, to do the bond project that we're having a meeting on Monday about, along with an operating levy. And I would want to have that conversation with the community, that this is what we suggest is required for a premier educational district. And part of that, we recognize as a board, this will be an increase in taxes. One way or the other, it will increase taxes because the bond is going to be an increase. And we respect the fatigue and the renewal in 2026. We wouldn't approach that renewal. And so however you look at it, it would reduce the overall increase. It's another bad analogy, but kind of like with when you go out to the restaurant. Some people want the price and then they want a tip, and other people are like, you know what, tell me what it's going to cost and I will pay for it. And I want to get rid of that tipping culture. And I kind of would look at it that way, is we should say this is it, and there's no more constant conversation.
Any other thoughts, questions?
Would it be a levy renewal then?
No. No, because our past has already expired, and we're not due to vote on the second one until November. So it will be a new levy.
Oh, I see what you mean. But would it be, is it a continuous levy then?
That's something that
Those are
has to
more-
be determined.
Yeah, those are more decisions we'll make
All right.
down the road.
That's what I was confused about. Okay, we haven't decided that. We're
Mm-mm.
just knowing that we're putting them both together. That was our
Yeah.
discussion.
We're
Yeah,
chipping
so-
away at it a little bit at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, so the next part, that's a great segue to the kind of the next decision. The next decision is just that. Is it a continuous, is it limited? What I would suggest is the next key decision that the board has to give guidance on is how long do you want the operating levy to last? And so that's, with our next meeting being next week, I don't speak for George, he needs a little more time than that, I would suggest.
Well, not just that, we need to see how this legislation plays out.
Yeah.
Because that could determine what depending on how long we want it to last, so it would depend on the.
Well, not
millage
only how
value.
long do we want it to last, but if the budget passes the way it is currently proposed, we won't be able to make those decisions at a local level
Right.
without there being a circuit breaker at a state level. So if we would say, as we had in the past, we want to have this level funding and we're going to work to make it last 5 years, 10 years, whatever that number is, the rules of the budget, we won't have that wherewithal. And not to grouse on it, but it is a way of taking away local control.
Right.
The budgeting conversation that every school district has, and I think is a good thing, that it's local control. In a very real way, this current budget takes that local control away.
What I would, because it's a big question that we have to answer, that this is partly the reason why we're in the situation we're in now, is the board, the last time, when we passed the 2019 levy, the board made a strategic decision, which I supported, George supported, and the board voted on, to have a levy that would last 10 years based on the past history of the community voting and supporting levies. That was what was used against us, because when you do that, you have a bigger cash balance that gets you through the lean years, and that's what was used against us, a big part of it moving forward. So what I would suggest is acknowledging all that George and Richard just said as truths. But just to start conceptually thinking, if we're in the same situation as we're in right now, do you want to continue that pattern of longer duration levies, or do you want to go to what other school districts were doing, which every 3 to 5 years they're back on the ballot for these small amounts? So just something to think about, and then once we get to the time where we've got a little solid footing as to what's going to happen from a state level, then we can be ready to go. Don't you think, George?
Yeah.
But just coming back to Sharon's original question, we're looking at that money, and we've talked before about it is difficult to have two renewable levies that we're piggybacking because we're having this conversation all the time. And so I would think regardless, one of our priorities as a board would be to minimize the number of renewal levies. And so one way to do that is to commit to allowing that current levy to expire if we would secure the support of the community for the bond and a new money levy. The good news is like everything, even if we said, well, we changed our mind and we put it back up, it would have to pass. The voter gets the final say one way or the other.
And we have done that research, right? We are unique to the point where we're the only district that had 2 renewable levies on the books.
The only one we could find, yeah.
And
We were.
We were, right?
We were. There are other communities, and this is where you get into levy voodoo. There were other communities that have emergency levies, and those are a different kind of voodoo. But as far as renewable 5-year regular levies, we were unique in Cuyahoga County.
Okay, so just to restate what we're doing tonight, do we have consensus that we will do one ballot issue for next May, combining the levy and the bond?
Yes, I'm good with that. Agreed.
Okay. All right, so we've made our decision for tonight. We have consensus that it'll be one issue. Okay, thanks, guys. Next, Board of Education, other miscellaneous. Do we have any miscellaneous? The only thing I wanted to share real quick with approving our foreign exchange student for next year, I thought it was really cool. We got an email this week from the host parents just giving us some history with their families and how Philippe, his family has had a relationship with our host family since 1991. So it was, like I said, it was very, very interesting to read that and to see how their families, spanned oceans to become friends and really like family. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting to meet Philippe next school year and seeing all the great things that he does here in Strongsville.
Yeah.
Do we have any others? Okay, next then we have meeting notifications. A special Board of Education meeting will be held Monday, April 28th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in the meeting room here in the admin building, 18199 Cook Avenue. Following, after that, we have a regular Board of Education meeting work session to be held Thursday, May 1st at 7 p.m. in the meeting room of the admin building, 18199 Cook Avenue. And after that, we have a regular Board of Education meeting to be held Wednesday, May 21st, 2025 at 6:15, starting with an executive session, followed by public session at approximately 7 p.m. in the auditorium of the Strongsville High School, 20025 Lund Road. So with that last meeting, just make note that it is a Wednesday, and we will be at the high school. Next on our agenda, we will be going back into executive session
to prepare for negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stavcek, second by Mrs. Kilbane. George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Ms. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
We will enter into executive session at approximately 8:45. We do not see any need to resume public session, so I just want to wish everyone a good night and our students a happy last month of school. I cannot believe we're saying that. Have a great night, everyone.